there are kids who claim that they are furries in this class. It's the Mount Nebo Middle School, though, for the record, the school superintendent or spokesperson is pushing back on the claim, but I'll let the viewers decide. You can listen to the children protesting their presence outside. What happened was the children in Payson, Utah, said that we're having a walkout over the students who are in this school wearing animal costumes and allegedly identifying as furries. They claim that these so-called furries are growling and biting them at school, growling at and biting them in school. And the children, again, this is middle school, have had enough. This is a clip that we have here. Hold on a second. I'll get you who it's from. I think it's Life is Driving posted this. Adam Bartholomew on X. Take a listen to these kids.
We the people, not the animals. 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 We the people, not the animals.
The furries were attacking you guys in class, is that right?
Yeah, they bite kids. They bite people. They will bite ankles.
The principal doesn't make them get in trouble.
Yeah. All the principal says is just be kind, be nice, be nice.
And how else do they attack you guys?
They either bite us, they scratch us, they bark
pounce
at
on
us.
us. They pounce on us.
And then they run on all fours and pounce on people.
Go near them within like a 10-feet circle. Otherwise, the teachers will come and get mad at us.
No.
Okay. How old are the kids that are dressing like furries?
They're like 11, 12. They're 13 and they shouldn't be allowed to. They bring dog bowls to lunch.
The principal hasn't put a stop to this.
Because her daughter is a furry and she supports it. And if we get bit or something, they get mad at us.
We get suspended, not them. Even if they weren't us to do anything, we get suspended.
Oh my God. All right. You heard the allegations. They run on all fours. They pounce on us. They bite us. They eat their lunches out of bowls. I'm going to be honest. I saw this at first because I've heard more and more reports of this. It happens at colleges and it happens at younger schools now. And I thought, is this one big punk? Is this the one big punk by these kids? Because this is so outlandish. But no, it's being reported on by all the local news stations. And the school district spokesperson has issued a statement. They're trying to downplay what's happening, but they're not denying that there's an issue. They're saying, okay, no students, they claim, are coming to school dressed in full-body animal costumes. That's the distinction. Some come wearing headbands that may have ears on them, and they claim they don't describe themselves as furries. Okay, that's not an effective denial. I believe the children. You guys have kids. You can tell those 11, 12, and 13-year-olds. Like, that's legit. They've got examples at the ready. They would like to walk us through them. They're holding up signs that read, "Compelled speech is not free speech." They're supported by their parents, who are also very angry. And the most telling part was, why do you think they do this? And the kids said, they want attention.
Hey, what's up, Utah? Welcome back to We Are the People Radio. This is your host, Jason Preston, again with my beautiful co-host and bride, Alexia. How we doing?
Excellent.
Well, yeah,
yes.
Excellent.
I'm missing my ears today, though.
I told you should wear your cat ears today.
Cat ears. I'll just do this for now.
So we're doing this. Normally, we don't do breaking news, but this show we really tried to pull together because this is urgent, and I feel like this is important to get out because we are competing with a mainstream narrative in Utah that says that what you just saw here on national news is not happening. Mm-hmm. You've got these kids who have been, honestly, you know what I see this as? This is a reflection of what's going on nationally here amongst the children in our school, the students. In other words, we have a one-sided justice system. Right, going after parents, going after anyone who speaks up for the former president, going after, Donald Trump. going after people who show up on January 6th, while meanwhile people are burning down the city, and that's okay. So we're seeing a banana republic affect this country, and here are these kids. You can dress up as an animal. You can crawl around on all fours. You can bark. You can, wear, whatever toy, these guys are putting in their, their tails, and you can bark and scratch, and that's okay. But if you try to defend yourself, the school's going to go after you.
Yeah. And then the media will gaslight you into believing it's okay too.
Right. So interestingly enough, and we're going to get into this is a story, as you've seen, has been picked up on nationally. Who else picked that up, Alexia?
Well, it's gone international at this point. We've had it locally, of course, here, which we'll talk about today, but it's gone Blaze, Daily Wire UK, Daily Caller, Fox, OAN, Newsmax, as you saw on Megyn Kelly, Breitbart, and then all over social media. The Typical Liberal, Matt Walsh picked up on it recently. So it's just about everywhere.
And this is one of the reasons that, we do this show, is because nationally, again, Utah's in the spotlight. For example, just like when Cox tried to extort Sean Reyes, that went nationally, but not a single local news station would pick it up. The thing with us being a sanctuary state nationally, everyone's talking about, but our local media denies it. So this, again, is one of these issues that we have to, and we're going to help people get this type of information out, because, Plato says, he who tells the stories rules the world. And in Utah, we have a problem with corruption, and the corruption here happens because all the people are asleep, because the media has done a very good job putting it, either not talking about it or slanting it, like you're going to hear about today. So I want to jump into this. Just make sure you're following us. Go to our website, wearethepeople.org. Follow us for a newsletter. That way we can get this content out to you, even if and when we continue to get banned, we can still get it to you that way. But we've brought on, what we want to do today is really bring on the key people who were involved in this. This story was broken by Adam Bartholomew at Main Street Media. He did a phenomenal job. Everything you guys just saw on Megyn Kelly is the content he got. So we've got him on. We've actually also got Tiffany Barker.
Yeah, two of our favorites.
Yeah, who came on, and with We Are the People on our Instagram, she collaborated with us, and so that's helped break that there as well. We're also going to bring in the student who organized this. Kendalyn is a little rock star, so she's gonna join in and kind of give her perspective, and then we're gonna give a perspective of someone on this actual school board to validate: did this happen? Did it not happen? Is this happening across the state, or is this an isolated incident? And then we'll have a clip from Eric Moutsos, who is talking about the problem with our media here in Utah. So it's gonna be a phenomenal show. I'm very excited. So without further ado, Adam Bartholomew, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, well,
it's been a while.
It has been a while.
Yeah, I think last time I was on here, I'd gone viral for Spencer Cox's pronouns. So
yeah, that went on Tucker, which we love what you're doing. We need as many people, boots on the ground, in one way or another. So that's another call to action for our viewers. You're like, oh, what can I do? All of this stuff is happening. Even just going out to where this is happening, exposing it. So we need more citizen journalists exposing this. So you're doing a phenomenal job with that.
And Adam's got, it's Main Street Media. Tell us real quick so people can find you, because I do want people to find you.
It's mainstreetmediautah.com. We're just a group of independent local broadcasters that have kind of banded together. It's a media startup. We're only like 4 months old, and we're just trying to give a conservative alternative voice to the liberal media in Utah. And this story about the furry walkout really highlights the disparity we have in our media locally, where there is a huge liberal slant, and even those that are perceived to be the more conservative, like KSL, when you look at their journalists, the people that are writing their stories and putting out the information, if you look at their Twitter bios, you look at their things, they use pronouns, they use all of this this woke language that is in the culture, and they're just as liberal as the Salt Lake Tribune.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're just trying to push back against that and kind of provide a voice for Utah's Main Street, which we think has been which is being unheard. And prime example of it is this this furry walkout. I was contacted in advance the night before, and I was told that they had reached out to KSL and told them about that they were going to do this walkout, and they got ignored. KSL didn't think it was like within their news wheelhouse or whatever. So they asked if I would come and film it, and I said, sure. You know, it's on my way to work. It's 2 hours before I'm going to work, so I'll see if I can fit it in. The morning of, I almost didn't go. I was just burned out from the night before. I've been doing it's campaign season. We're leading up to the county and state conventions. I'm a precinct chair, and I live stream all the debates. That's actually where they saw me. They saw me live streaming the local county office debates, and so I kind of mulled it over. I'm like, why not? I told this lady I'll show up, you know. And so I went out to formerly Payson Middle School. Actually, I attended that school when it was the first year it was built. I was the first class to be in that school a long time ago, and now it's Mount Nebo Middle School. And I showed up at 8:00, and I was setting up my camera gear, and right on time at 8:05, after class had started, 100 kids filed out of the front door, and they had signs and all this stuff, and they started their protest, and were out there, you know, they were outraged. And I just planted my camera on my tripod on the ground, and I talked to the organizer, and I just talked to as many kids as I could to kind of find out what their motivation was, what's going on, what drove them to this point, you know, and that's kind of how the whole thing started.
Tell me what stuck out to you.
Some of the stuff that really stuck out to me was, that these kids are being attacked, and that there's really a double standard in how the school is addressing the issue. And that's what drove them to do this, was that they felt like they're being told to just be kind and be tolerant and be inclusive of these kids that are dressing up as pets. But the kids that are dressing up as pets are not being kind. They're not being tolerant of the other kids, and they're attacking them. They're, and also to hear, out of the mouth of a 13-year-old girl that her fellow students are wearing butt plug tails.
What?
Under skirts.
Oh my gosh.
Like
sexual perversion.
It is, and to me, this is on the same wavelength as Drag Queen Story Hour. Like the drag queens and furries both derive from a sexual fetish culture. And why are we bringing sexual fetishes into our schools? Why are we bringing our sexual fetishes into the lives of our children?
Middle schoolers.
Why are we sexualizing children, really?
And why are we, I guess, allowing it and protecting it?
Exactly.
So I'd love to hear. So Adam, you left early. Fortunately, we had Tiffany Barker.
Yeah, I was there for the first hour, and then I packed up and left.
Tiffany, what did you see when you came?
By the way, Tiffany, welcome to the show. Tiffany Barker.
You.
Sorry, we should have given you a more formal introduction.
It's okay.
Another one of our
Tiffany Barker, though, has been very involved for years. She's at the Capitol all the time. She is one of these citizens, her and her sisters, that are like relentless in the fight for freedom. And so, Tiffany, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here. So what I saw, I actually I was watching Adam's live stream and getting ready in the morning. I homeschool my children because of this kind of crap, because I fought the district for years, got locked out of meetings. They criminally charged parents I was standing next to. One guy knocked 8 times on the door, got criminally charged. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And I just hate to interrupt you, but this is something I hope our listeners and viewers pay attention to, because the media, again, most people have no idea this type of stuff goes on in Utah.
Right.
But the fact that, and that's why I appreciate you sharing this, because literally we have people in Utah who have been arrested, parents arrested for standing
criminally
up for these issues.
Right. Yeah. I brought my kids with me to that meeting thinking we could go in. They wanted to speak to the board because that was their school board. So anyway, I'm watching Adam's live stream, getting ready, and I had a bunch of things that day, and I thought, oh my gosh, these kids are so sincere. I was hearing Adam talk to Kendalyn and these other kids, and just hearing them describe what they're going through. And these are not rebellious kids. And these are not just white kids, regardless of what the media says. These are kids of all different races and completely different backgrounds upset about this. And so anyway, hearing these children and just being like, oh, this is this is a big deal. I thought, if I leave now, I can be there for 10 minutes. We're going. I told my kids, get ready. We're going to go. We're going to take the kids something. I'm like, donuts or something. And then we had a bag of candy that we brought the kids. And I went expecting to find Adam, but he had to go. So when I got there, I just put a few things on my stories on Instagram, and then had thousands and thousands of people coming to my Instagram, watching my stories, and then people saying, please make it into a post so I can share it. And I said, okay. And that's what I added you guys to. And it's like 150,000 views in 2 days. And Adam's have millions because it's gone worldwide because people know it's happening. If it wasn't happening, it wouldn't go viral because you read the comments of every parent on there and they say, this is at my kid's school. I had a teacher tell me it's at our school. I'm the teacher. We have girls that come as cats. We have a girl that's a mouse. It is so ridiculous at this point. And then you have the media gaslight every single person, which only discredits them. And we're seeing it. And that's why their ratings are going down. That's why you have millions of hits on YouTube channels of random people that are like, hey, I'm a citizen journalist. I'm going to step up and say what I am seeing. So it's a problem. And to hear these kids and say that you don't believe what they're going through, I don't know who you could be. You listen to them talk, listen to their stories and their experiences. Like Megan Kelly says, they have firsthand accounts on call right away. This happened. This girl had a scratch on her arm on Adam's feed. I got scratched. I got bit in the ankle. They can't all have the same stories. And then to have the school say, hey, if you participate in this protest, you'll be suspended. And to still have the courage to stand up and say, no, this is not right what's happening to us and what they're doing to us as children. These kids want to learn. One mom reached out to me and said, my son was at the protest. He had to sneak back into school so the teachers didn't see him so he didn't get suspended. Wow. And I'm thinking, me as a junior high kid, I wouldn't go back to school. I would want to. She said, he wants to learn. He wants to be there and learn. And this is a huge disruption to their learning environment. It's obviously against the dress code, but they can't sit in class. They're sitting next to a girl sitting like a puppy in her chair. This is not a situation that we should keep validating these kids and affirming this type of crazy behavior. So you've got kids. Yeah. When you showed up there and you saw these kids protesting as a mother, what was going through your mind? It came, when I first saw them, I thought, wow, these kids are so courageous. And then listening to them made me emotional. Then I was like, they're going to think I'm the biggest nerd if I'm crying talking to them. So I was trying to just hear their stories. And then my own kids, I hated that I had to even explain to, I have 5 children. My youngest is 3. So to explain to my children what furries are on the way down just broke my heart. And I actually talked to them about the Salem witch trials and the whole thing with you have kids creating something, living in delusion that's not real. 19 women were hanged because of that delusion, because there were adults affirming delusion of children that children that are not, it's not happening, it's not real. And so for me, bringing my kids to that and having them see firsthand why we homeschool, this kind of crap that is constantly happening in our schools and covered up. And then to have the kids tell us, well, I filmed and then a teacher saw me filming and made me go into the administration office and prove that I deleted my footage. And I'm sitting there like, that's your evidence. Because all the adults are saying, it's not happening. It's not real. Show the proof. Then you dare show proof. How dare you show a child? Like what happened to Natalie Klein on our state school board. She's proving things that are happening. And then she's voted by all the legislature except Phil Lyman to be condemned, to be censured by cities, by other school boards that are making statements against her. Don't you dare speak out, the emperor's new clothes, about what is going on. You have courage to say it, and you are completely ostracized. I think that's the thing that, to me, I find the most concerning is, there are voices that are saying, hey, they're exposing what is happening in this state. And then you have the media trying to silence them. You have this legislator trying to silence them. You have the governor trying to silence them. Why? Because, look, when you have a corruption in the government, the thing they want least is accountability, is the people being aware. Because the minute enough people are aware of the corruption, the people are able to stop it. And I just think they've been so effective here in Utah at silencing the people into thinking there's no problems. Let's do this. I want to bring Kendalyn in. While you're trying to bring her in,
Adam, tell us what the aftermath, what's happened to you as after you, I mean, it's obviously been extremely positive. There's been some negative. Tell us about the aftermath.
Well, I mean, the aftermath, really, the media, the first media organization to grab onto this was the Salt Lake Tribune. And they went only to the school administrator's spokesperson. They didn't go to the parents. They didn't try and contact the students involved. They didn't even try to talk to any teachers at the school. They only took the administrator's word, who downplayed it and played the Salt Lake Tribune, really in my eyes, played cover for the district. And they downplayed it as headbands with ears only. Which
seems, honestly, doesn't surprise me, right? That's the liberal, what you'd expect from the liberal, magazine, liberal rag.
Yeah, and so that Trib article has been shared hundreds of times by people saying to try and disprove Utah parents on Twitter, dozens of them who have responded to my stuff saying, this has happened in my school, this has happened in my school, and they get a response from somebody saying, it's just headbands, And then you have ABC4 that actually did surprisingly did a little journalism. And they showed up. They got some footage of the protest, and they also got footage from inside the school. And I was given at the time the same video and some of the pictures that have since come out. And we were working with getting the parents an interview on a national news outlet to be able to put those out. And so it was funny to see the Tribune and then KSL afterwards come out and say there's no evidence of this or that it's just headbands, because they really got egg on their face, when the evidence has come out since then.
Shame on KSL.
Yeah, but the funny thing about that was that the video from inside the school that ABC4 aired showed a girl with a 2-foot-long tail and fuzzy leggings, and she had, in the unblurred video, you can see she has one of the masks pushed up on the top of her head. And she's lashing out at a student violently. I mean, she is very aggressive, lashing out at a student for filming her without her permission in the school. ABC4 aired that. You can clearly see the tail and the fuzzy leggings. And but that didn't stop KSL from the next day coming out with an article headlining saying no evidence of furries within the schools.
And that's why I say shame on KSL. I mean, I expect the Trib to do, to the lie, to do the push, the leftist Marxist thing, because that's who they are. Mm-hmm. But when the alternative like the supposed good guy who's conservative is also pushing the same narrative, this is why we have a state that is absolutely asleep and people have no clue how bad things are.
Yeah.
Do we have Kendalyn?
Let's get her.
Okay.
One of the other things, even though the Salt Lake Tribune's own story verifies the chain of events that led to this girl organizing this walkout, the school sending out a letter to parents, the school sending a follow-up letter, trying to clarify after they say that parents misconstrued their letter. Even though all that stuff, the Tribune reporter still put on his tinfoil hat and came up with a conspiracy on Twitter that I staged the entire thing. Like, how ridiculous are these people that they can't even, they're supposed journalists. They have zero journalistic integrity. And even though his own paper has confirmed the chain of events that led to this, and that the school, even in their letter, in the Trib article, says that they've heard rumors of the walkout that's going to happen, in advance. But that this guy this guy is a communist propagandist. I mean, that's what he is. And his narrative that he's pushing is that somehow I'm benefiting, from this. I'm not monetized.
Anything they can do, to keep their narrative that they're all is well in Zion. That it's just it's the crazy.
And they're saying that I'm exploiting children, for my own political gain and all these wild things. When I gained some Twitter followers and a few YouTube subscribers. I don't even have 1,000 subscribers. I'm not a monetized channel. I make no money out. This is a hobby for me. I was showing up in 2020 streaming riots in Seattle, streaming protests with my cameras. So this is something I've been doing for years, and to imply that I'm somehow exploiting children for political gain is just ridiculous.
Well, we're glad you're there. And honestly, I hope our listeners are being inspired, because we need a lot more of Adam, and we need a lot more people out there getting out and doing the same thing, because we have clearly lost independent journalism in this country.
And we also need a lot more Kendalyns too.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Speaking of Kendalyn, do we have Kendalyn on with us?
Yes.
Kendalyn, welcome to We Are the People. How are you?
Good. How are you?
How does it feel to be a hero?
Pretty great.
Well, you are a hero in a lot of people's eyes right now. You know, a lot of people are very frustrated, Kendalyn, with what's going on at the border and the literal invasion. People are very frustrated by, you know, the chaos that's being allowed to happen in our streets, and literally, you know, watching this country, the values that this country is founded upon have been under attack. And you know, one of the things I hear people talk about when I'm out talking to people in the streets and just talking to different people is they're so concerned about where we are as a country. And you know, one of the things they're very concerned about is the youth. They feel like, you know, these kids, the propaganda and these youth, they're so woke. And people are very concerned about this generation. And so all of a sudden in this, I think you and what you've done is been absolutely like this bright star amidst, you know, some real, I don't know, it feels like you are leading the way in something that needs to happen. So tell us a little about what happened here? How did you start this? What happened?
So Kirsten posted a thing on Facebook trying to figure out how to lodge a complaint to the school district because her son had come to her telling her about all the awful things that are happening at our school right now. And my little brother showed that to me. And honestly, after I saw that, I was just fed up and I knew something needed to be done. So I was talking to my parents and we started the petition, and I brought it to school on Monday after rallying all my friends together through Snapchat, surprisingly. But then I got all those signatures and it kind of just went from there.
Kendalyn, how old are you?
13.
13. Jeez.
Incredible.
So what happened when you were gathering signatures on your paper petition at first?
So I went to the Panther Den and I had kids like lining up almost out the door of the school, and they sent admin over, and like admin was kind of just like watching what you're doing, trying to figure out what I was doing. And then I kind of got followed around by teachers the rest of the day, like reporting to the office about what I was doing. And then I got called down to the principal's office about third period because she didn't like how in my free time during class, when we had like maybe 5 minutes left, I would have kids sign the petition if they wanted to. And apparently she didn't like that.
Did you just say Panther Den? What is the Panther Den?
So the Panther Den is the Commons.
And have they renamed that
No, that's
for
the
Furries?
The Panther is
That's
their
like a school
mascot.
Okay. I was like,
Yeah.
that's a full takeover.
So were the teachers supportive of this, of your petition, or not?
No, I mean, I've had a couple teachers who have been quite supportive, but I've got other teachers who now definitely treat me way differently than they did prior to this.
Kendalyn, have you been in trouble before at school?
Yes, but nothing seriously. Typically, I'm a pretty good student, like straight A's. I pay attention in class, never really get in trouble. But, I mean, what 13-year-old doesn't get in trouble at school occasionally?
So what I saw outside of the protest was a whole bunch of kids looking like totally different backgrounds, different demographics, different races, maybe different grades. Like you're a straight A student, some of those kids might not be. What did you think is about who this appealed to that was out of the protest with you?
Really everyone. Like, I don't really know how to answer that.
Like it wasn't one group of friends, right?
No, it was a bunch of kids from everywhere, 6th and 7th graders, kids that are failing their classes that should be in class, even coming out there. Just everyone came together and decided that we need to stop this.
You know, that actually says a lot because especially in middle school, you see a lot of social cliques. So it's easy. I'm sure even the furries have their own social clique. So the fact that this went across different groups of friends, it actually says that this has been pretty invasive into the culture of your school.
Yeah, for sure.
Kendalyn, the school administrator on one of the local newspapers said that this whole thing started when he had sent out an email because this specific group of kids that we're calling the furries was being bullied in school, and and so that was kind of the narrative that he's pushing. But I want to hear from you. What led to this? What got you to the point where obviously you're doing the petition, then you did the online petition. What got you to the point where you thought a school walkout was going to be the right thing to do?
Just to get the administration's attention and prove a point that we're all done with this, and it's ridiculous that they're pushing this on kids to try and make us respect everyone, which I kind of understand. Also, we haven't done anything to this group.
Kendalyn,
they're the ones.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
They're the ones that are harming us and getting away with it.
Do you feel like this is rooted in something sexual?
Yeah, 100%. One of my friend's moms was talking to her lawyer about it, and they were doing some digging. And furries are a sexual fetish, and that just shouldn't be allowed in our schools, period.
And, one of the things I found interesting is I hear, that if kids try to record these things or record, things that maybe woke things or things that are going on that might not be appropriate, even if from what the teachers are doing, that they're being told to delete that stuff or discourage. What do you know about that? Is that happening?
Yes, I've definitely had a couple kids come to me saying that if they record the furries or just anything and they get caught, a lot of the times they'll have to go to the office and get it deleted. The office watches over their shoulders as they delete it from their recently deleted and from their camera roll.
Yeah, I find that interesting because you remember the story about the teacher at Lehigh, who was basically saying the parents, saying the parents are stupid and shouldn't be listening to parents, and basically this anti-Trump raid. I found it interesting that there was I know that Cox was trying to push a bill to remove cell phones from the schools. Do you guys remember that? Mm-hmm. I just think it's interesting, and I know that the pushback was that no, we want our kids to be able to give us eyes into what's happening so we have accountability, and it feels like there's a pushback against that accountability.
Mm-hmm. So I have another question for Kendalyn. So another thing the administrator had said about the email that they'd sent out to parents when this first started was that they weren't taking the side of one group over another group. Do you feel like that's accurate?
No, not at all. In my personal opinion, I feel like if it was the furries or LGBTQIA plus whatever community, if it was them doing this walkout and this protest and doing all of this, the school would have their back 100%. They would have the school and admin support, point blank, period. But since it's us and since it's the conservatives and all these students are going against them, they don't like it because now we are bringing all of their secrets to light.
Yep. Good for you, Kendalyn.
Yeah, Kendalyn, I'm proud of you.
What has the pushback been like since this protest at school?
Well, obviously you guys have seen the hate that we gotten online from all that and the school denying everything. But the teachers are definitely the ones that are against it. They treat you a little differently. I notice I've been treated differently by teachers. But just little things like that. Now that they know that you're the one doing it, you're a problem, and they watch you 24/7.
How did it make you feel to read your teacher's post that said that school was better off without you guys and that the halls were actually cleaner and that the school was better with you guys outside?
It's very disappointing, especially coming from a teacher who really teachers aren't supposed to put input on things like this. And especially saying a comment like that, to be honest, I hope that teacher gets fired.
So I'd like to dispel some rumors that have been going around too. The first one, we've heard stories about litter boxes being in the classrooms or the bathrooms. Are you seeing that at your school?
No, not at all. When I got called to the principal's office, I talked to her about that to see if that was going to be a thing happening, because I have heard rumors about it. And she said no, that it wouldn't be happening. But yeah, I haven't seen any signs of litter boxes going into the bathrooms.
And has your group been suspended, or just has that been a rumor or a threat of suspension?
It was more of a threat of suspension, but no one has been suspended.
Yeah, I don't think anyone will be suspended at this point with it having national attention. I think that they've been they're very careful now of what they do.
They're being kept in check.
And then the last one that's come up has been the bomb threat. I think there was mention that you were actually behind it. So do you want to just dispel that rumor as well?
Yeah. So with that, that's a complete lie. If anything, I would think it would be someone in the school board who is district or school district that is saying that we're the ones who are doing that, even though we are not. Honestly, I think it was someone in the school district who had called in and said something about a bomb threat, or are just making it up to scare more students, and they're trying to put the blame on us.
One of the first accounts that really made this go viral was Libs of TikTok. They picked it up and posted a clip and credited me on their post, and that has almost 10 million views on Twitter. Wow. But there is a concerted effort from these rabid leftists that anything that Libs of TikTok exposes, whether that it involves a school or a hospital or any building, will get multiple bomb threats, because they are desperately trying to get that account taken down, because it is so effective. And one of the other things about that, if you read the Herald article, they have some excerpts from the email, and by the way, the police determined this was a non-credible bomb threat. And there was actually a chain of bomb threats in Utah schools just in December of last year that were also non-credible. They were the news reported them as hoaxes when the police called it non-credible. In this case, the police have called it non-credible, and the liberal media is saying that I've put students in danger by going and filming this walkout. But the text of the email that they received said that we're going to blow up your school, we're going to blow up the administrators' houses and kill you to make America great again.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, come on.
Just a little.
How obvious.
I know.
those Trumpers.
Yeah, those
must have been Adam Bartholomew.
It's just a little bit on the nose, don't you think?
Yeah, so obvious. Well, I've got one last question for you, because again, so many people out there and our listeners, and they're so concerned because you hear that it is this constant barrage of propaganda to these kids, and it's in your TV, it's in commercials, it's in our schools. This accepting of the idea that, if a boy wants to dress up as a girl, he is a girl, and that if someone wants to dress up as a dog, they are a dog, and that there are multiple genders. What I'm seeing is some of these college kids start to say, and they're starting to say that is not true. They're tired of the trans stuff. They're tired of the LGBT stuff being pushed down their throats. Tell us your thoughts on this stuff. Where do you and your friends stand? Are they? Do they accept these things, or are they starting to push back?
They're definitely starting to push back. Me personally, and I know a lot of my friends agree with me on this. There is two genders. There is male and female, and your role is what God gave you, and you should listen to His plan. And with that, I say, it's absolutely ridiculous what everyone is trying to push down these young kids' throats, because I feel like these little kids that are 5 and 6 that are saying that they're trans and their parents are posting them on TikTok and all this, it's the parents wanting attention. It is not the kids. Guarantee you, these kids are having it pushed down their throats by their parents, being like, oh, well, you like playing with Barbies and you're a little kid. You don't know the difference between boy and girl stuff or whatever. So I'm going to put you in a dress and we're going to call you trans now, and boom. Like, it's ridiculous.
Wow.
That's wisdom.
Well, Kendalyn, I want you to know you really are a hero, and
your parents.
Because girls,
Definitely.
young women like you and leaders like you don't happen on accident. And I want you to know you are inspiring a lot of people. And, one day when there's, the next time, hopefully you're going to see not just you young warriors standing up in the streets and chanting, we the people, but hopefully you'll see an army of fathers and men and standing and women standing with you guys. And I think when that happens, I think that's when we're going to start seeing some change in this country. So, Kendalyn, thank you so much. We're proud of you, and God bless you and God bless your family for what you're doing.
And Kendalyn, one more thing, related to this bomb threat stuff, when people are coming at you, because I'm sure that I'm sure you've been feeling the heat already. But just remember that if the school administration had done their job, we wouldn't be here today. And,
exactly.
And I hope you really feel like that your voices have been heard.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Kendalyn. Thank you, Kendalyn.
Thanks for standing up.
Let's pull in Christina.
Yeah.
Okay, next we're going to be hearing Christina Bogus. She's actually a member of the school board. Because what I really want to hear is I want to hear what the school board has to say about this. Because is this really happening? Is this going on, or is this just an isolated incident?
Yesterday at the sorry to interrupt there.
No.
At the Utah County Republican Convention, I had a parent come up to me, and she said that her son is in Payson High School, and that her son had been in the hallway and interacted with a group of 3 furries dressed as cats with masks and tails, and that they were hissing at him, and so he barked back at these furry cats, and that he then got called into the principal's office and told that he needs to be kind and he should not be retaliating against these kids. And and her son said, I identify as a dog. And he straight faced said, I identify as a dog. And that the principal apologized to him and said, I'm sorry. You're right.
You're kidding me.
What is going on in Payson?
Isn't that wild?
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
So, and Christina, do we have Christina Bogus on with us?
Yes, sir, you do.
All right. Christina Bogus, member of the Utah State School Board, and a personal friend, someone we actually really admire. She's one of these women who's actually out there standing up at all costs to defend our children and to protect our kids from what's happening. Christina, we just had Kendalyn on, and she's an incredible young woman talking about what's going on there. I don't know if you caught what Adam was talking about in Payson. And I think my question for you is, you're someone on the school board. Do you see what's going on at the state at probably closer than any of our listeners? And I think a lot of people wonder, is this really going on? Tell us, what are you seeing? What is this something people should be concerned about? Is this a valid issue? Is this systemic, or is this something that is just happening in isolated incidents?
Well, I think you just asked a lot of questions in one question.
Well, you just talked to us.
All right. So I do think that this is an issue. I do work inside schools. I've seen it personally as an educator inside my classroom. And so this is not something that I just see from afar. I see it indicative in my everyday life, in my career. And so I can tell you that I've seen it firsthand. I can confirm that we have received what we would call hotline incidents at the Utah State Board of Education. So it is coming in at the state level, and our audit department is working through that, through the processes we have in place. I do think those processes can be improved, but this is not an isolated incident, isolated just to Payson. As a state board member, I've received many, I don't know what you call it, messages. This is going on. How do I deal with this? What's the process? And so systemic, I don't know that I would go that far, but I can tell you it's more than just in Payson.
Okay. I guess I have a question for you. One of the videos, I don't know if it was Adam, your video, or the video you had, Tiffany, but one of the kids talked about that this is sexual and these kids are wearing butt plugs. Was that whose video was that?
In both,
that was in
actually.
mine.
She said it in mine too, but
okay,
yeah.
so both videos.
Butt plug with a tail on the other end.
Okay, which I don't know. Like to me, there's certain things that there's like so many things that where it's like that's a line that you don't cross. I mean, there should be outrage, not protection of that.
And even Kendalyn herself said it was a sexual perversion. She validated that what she's seeing as a 13-year-old is sexual in nature.
Have you heard any reports? Does that sound like consistent with anything you're hearing, or does that sound like that's inaccurate?
So I'm not going to say it's inaccurate until I've investigated it, because what I've learned is that when reports come in, when we decry them without investigation, it does the assuming process, right? So I'm not going to say that it's inaccurate because I haven't had an opportunity to investigate it. What I will say is my question would be, who bought that stuff for a 13-year-old child?
I mean, you probably get that stuff on Amazon.
Yeah, but
well, you probably could, but I don't know very many 13-year-olds with a bank account.
Yeah.
True. Well, I guess here's my question: is you see the media saying this stuff's not happening? You see the school that's trying to be dismissive. Should parents be concerned? Let me ask this: if I'm a parent in Utah and I don't go to that school district, is there reason to be concerned, or is it or not?
Yes, there's reason to be concerned.
Can you elaborate? And is the school board and the school boards trying to hide this stuff?
So when you say school board, I'm going to ask, are you talking state or local?
Either.
And then let's go back. Okay, so I'm going to start from the bottom and go up. If I were a parent in this state, I would be concerned about this because we are talking about some fundamental issues. We're talking about a dress code that is likely not being enforced. And when your dress code isn't enforced, then there are deeply rooted issues that start to manifest as a result of an unenforced dress code, whether that be the behavior code or other things. But so that's a local issue that probably needs to be addressed through human resources as part of a lack of competent administration, regardless of the LEA you're in. And if you've got a local board that is saying, no, it's not here, no, it's not this, as a person that's been in education for a long time, Jason, I'll tell you that I've seen some things that make me very sad. There's very carefully crafted questions that are asked of our children, and then the investigation reveals nothing to see here. However, the carefully crafted questions brought about a desired conclusion. Now, that may not be what happened here, but I've seen it happen many, many times in my past. And so what I also see happen in my career is I've seen people use different words to describe the same thing, and then they say X isn't happening, but we do have a little bit of evidence of this. But it's word semantics. It's two sides of the same coin. And so the assertion that this is not happening, I think that the evidence that I have seen come into my inbox that I have been able to verify, and my own personal experience in my classroom would say that is highly likely untrue.
Christine, I have one
and
last.
Then from
sorry, go ahead.
Can I?
Yes, please.
Sorry, I know I'm on the phone. I can't read body language.
Oh, you're great. You're great.
I would say the state board is not addressing this. We're trying to leave it to our LEAs to do that. They issued a public statement. Board leadership did do that, which was veiled at best. It wasn't something I bet half the state didn't even know what they were talking about. It was so veiled, which is a concern in and of itself. But what we see happening over and over and over again in Utah, and I don't know if you guys have addressed this, but we see local inaction. We see the placating of the people, the denial of the problem at a local level. And then what will happen is you'll see somebody try to go one level up and nothing happens. And whether that's because of apathy or cowardice, I don't know. But then we see the legislature get involved. And it's a legislative response to local inaction. And that, to me, is very dangerous because as a constitutional people, we value local control, yet our local people aren't acting. And then we get a centralized response, which in the future is going to lead to a very authoritarian state here. Yeah. So we really need our local people to be courageous and thoughtful and act on this issue without dismissing our students or their parents.
Oh, Alexia?
No, and I think you actually touched on what I was going to answer. And I know you're definitely not one to speculate without, thorough investigation. But over the past few years, actually, we've been seeing the push towards transgenderism, boys and girls bathrooms. Now it's furries. It just makes you wonder, where does this all go from here? What is the end goal? Is it to get to a place of total control? And as you said, authoritarianism. And we see this with the pushes towards communism, especially when it comes to our kids. So I hate to make you speculate.
But personal opinion.
Yes, we'd love to hear what you think. Where is this heading?
So I think what we need to look at is what mirrors the past. And when I say that, we see in our government, we see in our schools, I call it mirrors of. And that may not be language that everyone understands because they're not a student of history. But when you start to see policies and practices that mirror those of the past, you can go, oh goodness, this train is headed in a certain direction. Just like if you were traveling and you started to go through the foothills and you go, oh goodness, mountains must be, 40, 50 miles away. I'm talking about like what you can expect as a pattern, right? And these incidences in our social culture are indicative of a cultural revolution. We saw it in Mao's China. We saw it in the Bolshevik Revolution. And we see it in other parts of history, and all of those parts of history ended up in authoritarianism, and people died because of that. And I do fear that we are headed in a very dangerous direction if we don't stand for truth, and if we don't courageously stand at a local level. The centralization of power will continue.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, especially when we have a governor, speaking of centralization of power, who is wanting to appoint school board members. And when there's a school board member who speaks up, i.e. Natalie Klein, what does he do? The governor goes after her and attacks her personally. Right. Thank you so much for coming on, Christina.
You're very welcome. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I do think we need to look into this at a very deep level and to not shy back from the realities that we're facing.
Yes, thank you so much. So, any thoughts on what she shared?
I think it's so wild that we're experiencing this right now, and to have this stuff kind of crop up in our own backyard. We expect this from especially we moved here from Seattle in 2021, and we saw this stuff coming at the state level where, for example, in the first week of the COVID lockdown, the legislature in Washington had met at 2 a.m. and passed a mandated sex ed curriculum that was designed by Planned Parenthood. And it all the way down to 4th grade, it showed illustrated sexual positions.
Oh my gosh.
And when you got to that section in the book, it was a man and a man in bed. And then it was a woman and a woman in bed. And then the third option was a man and a woman, in bed.
In little cartoon drawings.
In
I've
cartoon
seen
illustrations, yeah. And this was mandated.
Total children's literature.
Yeah, and they changed the law where you had to opt.
Let's say, by the way, let's put those into this show.
It was
see that.
Yeah,
if
it
you
was
can show
we'll edit that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was previously it had been like an opt-in thing, and now it was mandated. You had to opt out, so you had to single your child out if you didn't want them to be have this forced upon them in the 4th grade.
And probably put them on a list too, an opt-out list.
Well, and they don't communicate. The opt-out is garbage. Yeah. They did that with full-day kindergarten. No one knows you can opt out. They don't communicate it.
Then further on into COVID, they passed laws that through the school nurse, girls as young as 13 could get an abortion funded by the state.
Why did you guys make me do this show?
They could. That would they are forbidden from notifying the parents. Their children as young as 13 can get drug treatment and drug addiction counseling without getting the parents, and also that your own insurance. If you have a child in school that feels like they're in the wrong body, they can get a costume change through the school nurse and wear their identified gender's outfit during school, and even go so far as to force your insurance without notifying you to pay for gender transition medical therapy. And if you don't have insurance, the taxpayer takes that burden. Wow! All through the schools that this stuff comes, and we move here and thinking we're in this safe haven. We're moving to a red state. We can, and this stuff is creeping in. It's coming straight from the governor's office.
But you know what the difference is here? In California, in Oregon, in Washington, in New York, it's outright. They tell you what they're doing, and it's in your face. So you're free to fight it. Here, we're doing it. And in fact, we had Natalie Klein on here. We've had several school board members. I wish we had brought this up with Christina. And literally, they said that they have an agenda to queer the children and to create activists. Mm-hmm. And the difference here, it's the KSL and the Desert News won't touch it. We don't want you to know. We want you to stay busy, go to church, which is great. Go hang out with your kids and play softball. Go worry about the big rivalry, the BYU and Utah. That's where we need to be focused. It is bread and circus. The last thing they want is the people realizing what's going on. And in fact, let's bring on this clip here from Eric. Do we have that clip? This is from Eric Mutzos. He did a phenomenal job. Here we go.
Mount Nebo Middle School in Utah furry update. So yesterday, a group of bold parents and children protested the school and the furries because the furries have gotten out of hand at Mount Nebo Middle School. So the school has finally responded. From the Salt Lake Tribune, fact check, Nebo School District responds to claims about students' protest over furries. A district spokesperson said the protest seemed to be organized after a message sent to families was misrepresented. Nebo District spokesperson Seth Sorensen said students at the middle school are not wearing full-body animal costumes to class as furries, part of the subculture of people who sometimes dress up like animal characters but act like humans are known to do. He goes on to say the group of students being targeted, so it's the furries that are being targeted. They're the victims in the news. Were students who sometimes come to the school wearing headbands that may have ears on them. He said doesn't think targeted students necessarily refer to themselves as furries. These are pretty young kids, he said. You have students that show up with headbands and giant bows. You'll have students that show up dressed as their favorite basketball player or baseball player. That's just what kids their age do. The problem is a substitute teacher from Mount Nebo Middle School contacted me and said this has been happening for over a year. And it looks like all the mainstream media in Utah are now siding with the furries. From ABC4, WebMD said people are often interested in becoming furries to find a sense of community, though some of the drawbacks are that they face are negative stereotypes and social stigmas. And this one is actually really sad, and this person needs to be reprimanded. Rebecca Hunsaker Barney said, this is the school I work at. I'm embarrassed for the parents that just believed everything their kids told them, then staged a protest without even contacting the school to find out what is really happening. The truth is that a few kids dress as pets stay to themselves. They do not do any of these things these kids are reporting. However, they are constantly picked on and bullied. So the kids stayed to themselves, but what about the video I just got from a concerned parent where this girl acting like a dog is going after these students? This gets even better. Honestly, we had the most wonderful, peaceful day yesterday because most of the troublemakers were out protesting a lie. Really? Because that doesn't look like a lie. The halls were quiet and actually cleaner without them there. This is a teacher at the school. This teacher's supposed to look at these kids in the eye, unbiased, and give them grades. My question is, where's Governor He/Him Cox on this one? Was he stunned to learn of the unconscionable behavior of this teacher? Can you imagine if these protesting kids were gay or a minority and a teacher said that it was a wonderfully peaceful day and the halls were quiet and actually cleaner without them there? A teacher that's online bullying the students, calling them liars, even though we have video of a little girl barking and near biting other kids in the school. How is the principal not putting this in check? Where's the House? Where's the Senate? Where's the governor's office? Where's the school board? Where's the media? Where's the condemnation? The double standard and hypocrisy in the state of Utah is astounding. The bottom line is the buck should stop with the principal, the administrators, the teachers, but sadly, they're probably going to go after these kids that were just trying to stand up for what's true in society. And last, to the students and teachers that are trying to stand up for truth and righteousness, keep doing what you're doing. If you get bullied or shamed or the administrators come after you, let us know. We'll be there to protest with you.
We the people, not the animals. We the people, not the animals. We the people, not the animals. We the people, not the animals.
All right. Tell me your thoughts, Adam, as we start to wrap this up.
Yeah, I think Matt Walsh makes a really good point that where we're at right now, and I think you're going to play the clip, is that this is where we are. This is what we get when we prioritize, acceptance and inclusion, tolerance. That's what I'm looking for, above all else. And he makes it crystal clear. I mean, this is the product of the agenda that's being pushed in our schools from the top down.
Now this, as many of us have warned for years, what you're seeing in this particular school, and it's not the only school, by the way, is the result of emphasizing tolerance and acceptance above all. In fact, you heard it even in that email the school sent home. The problem, as far as they're concerned, is not that kids are coming to school dressed as animals, but that other kids are not sufficiently tolerant of it. And this is the result of that. And I don't say it's the end result. It's not the final result. As I said, there is no end. There is no finality. It can always get weirder and more disturbing. But this is a result. This is an inevitable stop along the way once you board the crazy train. And when you start telling people, kids especially, that they can be whatever they want to be, and they can identify as whatever they want to identify as, of course some of them choose to be animals, obviously. And since you've elevated tolerance and personal expression, quote unquote, as the highest virtues, you now have no way of telling these kids not to behave this way. I mean, how can you? They're expressing themselves. They're being who they feel they are deep inside. The school can't put a stop to this without backtracking on the entire woke program. That's clearly how they see it. And they're right. There's an interesting segment from that ABC affiliate's written report on this same issue. And their article also quotes Strudel, by the way, and calls her that in the report. But then it says this. According to WebMD, a furry is someone who has an interest in animals with human qualities and who sometimes dresses up as a cartoon-like version of an animal. Quote, I really like the idea of animals that walk and talk, so I'm going to dress up as one as kind of a fun sort of cosplay thing, Strudel said. WebMD said people are often interested in becoming furries to find a sense of community, though some of the drawbacks they may face are negative stereotypes and social stigmas. Now, I have no idea why WebMD is being consulted for furry information, but in any event, it implies that the negative stereotypes and social stigmas against this quote-unquote community are wrong, but they aren't. I mean, there should be a social stigma attached to walking around in a ridiculous costume. It is normal for a person to treat such behavior as bizarre and antisocial because it is bizarre and antisocial behavior. A lot of what we now refer to as bullying among children, some of it is actually bullying, but a lot of it is really just children acting normal and responding to weird, unhealthy things in a way that conveys that the things are weird and unhealthy. The schools want to condition children out of that natural, normal response. They want your child to treat the furry as normal, and then after treating the furry as normal, eventually to actually see this sort of behavior as normal, and then eventually to become one himself, or something just as or more bizarre. That is the process. That's the agenda. And it's playing out at schools all across the country right now.
Interesting thing about that is that, these were the normal kids that walked out. And back in 2022, 2 years after COVID, the Park City School District still had a mask mandate in place. And Summit County went in and overturned that mask mandate. And a bunch of liberal kids, which there's a lot of them up in Park City, staged a walkout of their school. And at that time, the Salt Lake Tribune went and actually got comments from parents and stuff like that. And they quoted them as doing their civic duty. They were praised for doing this. But here we have, the normal kids staging a walkout because they feel like they aren't being heard, and they are pariahs. They're not listened to. They're ignored, or they're called liars.
I had people,
unacceptable. Yeah, go ahead.
People claiming that the kids outside were doing this for attention. I did not see one cell phone on any child filming any of it. I had a cell phone. I didn't see any of them. This was not a publicity thing of let's get selfies and take. It was just kids you can see all the footage. There's nobody.
A lot of them filmed me with their phones.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
I didn't see.
It was pretty funny.
When you got there,
Yeah.
but your equipment looked official. Mine was just my phone.
Yeah.
But it was not publicity. It was
So
sincerity.
give us your final thoughts here.
My final thoughts, my degree is in broadcast journalism, and I have worked in media. And for the media, the local media, the Salt Lake Tribune and KSL, to immediately say it's not happening based off one statement from the Mount Nebo, from the school district board, is crazy. That's not at all journalism. You go to the source. And they could easily grandma any of the phone calls on the hotline made to the Utah State School Board. The families are calling. You heard Christina Bodges on the phone call say that this is happening. You can grandma those. Local media in Utah, you can grandma those. Remember what that is? That we've had probably more citizens grandma things in the last 4 years in this state than any media. And it's ridiculous, and it has to stop. I think that we need to get behind our kids and start believing them. And if you don't believe it, go see for yourself. And the people exposing it, all they want to do is go after the messenger. But all that does is elevate you to a truth speaker in this day and age. That's what you are. So if people are afraid, I've had people say, you're so courageous to film that. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, this has been, like you said, you would live stream those protests. And in 2020, I started doing the same thing on my social media because I was protesting mask mandates, vaccine passports, all that garbage. And then people are like, well, it's not in the media, but you've got thousands of people watching what you're doing and there and seeing it firsthand. The media has lost all credibility. Our country was founded on the First Amendment, which is the most important thing that we have, the freedom of the press. All of our press is compromised. It's owned by the same key players. You're not getting truth and you're not getting accuracy, and we know it because we're seeing different than what they're telling us. So keep standing up, keep speaking out, support your children, believe your children when they're telling you the things going on at school, and go to the source and find out for yourself.
Awesome. Alexia?
It's funny because you brought up COVID. You both did, and something that stuck out to me, even just watching Matt Walsh's video with the big long-nosed Venetian mask. The repetitive theme here over the last 4 years has been this repetition and symbolism masks. So even since COVID, we've normalized and destigmatized the mask. Oh, it's just a mask. It's just a mask. And what has that evolved into society? We now have rampant crime with people who are just wearing masks. So you're like, okay, that's a big jump to go from, well, it's for your health and for grandma, to now like rampant theft in the streets of major cities. I'm seeing a similar trajectory with these kids. Oh, it's just a mask. It's just a furry. It's just an ear. And where does that go? Where's the opposite end of that spectrum? Well, you go to Disney World or wherever, and it's just a mask, but who's behind it? It could be a pedophile. It could be anything. And that could be the dangers of what lurk ahead for our kids. Is it's just a mask, and destigmatizing it and taking away what really could be happening, the dangers of this mask to begin with.
Yeah, well said. First off, I just want to, thank, Adam for being in the fight. Consistently out there. There's a reason they called him. He's out there. He's trying to expose these things. I want to thank him for what he's done on the show today and for helping wake up people in this state to what's happening in our backyard. And, Tiffany, you're doing an amazing job. You've been doing an amazing job. Your whole family is like, we have the utmost respect for you, for your family. I really think that, we have a huge problem with the media, right? We've addressed that. The media in Utah, their goal is to keep the people asleep. But we also have another problem that I'm going to address right now as I wrap up, and that's we have a leadership problem.
Totally.
And I think it comes to, it has to do with several things, but it has to do with, one, the role of men. But first off, Look at the leadership. You have leadership in schools, pushing this stuff, right? You've got the TV, the propagandists in the news and in Hollywood pushing this stuff. Where's the opposition? You've got the governor, right? The governor, he, him, using his pronouns.
Bright red Utah is now led by a cut-rate Gavin Newsom imitator called Spencer Cox. Spencer Cox is a former telecom executive who always seems like he's auditioning for the title of America's guiltiest white guy. He's beyond belief. Watch this virtual town hall with high school students last year, in which Spencer Cox announces his preferred pronouns to a young girl in the audience.
Well, thank you so much, Gabby, for that question. My preferred pronouns are he, him, and his. So thank you for sharing yours with me.
Ooh, what a creepy guy. My preferred pronouns are he, him, his, Cox tells a room full of children. So we've got that cleared up. Spencer Cox identifies as a male, at least to some limited extent. Now, Fox could have cleared up that mystery a lot more quickly simply by declaring, I'm a man. Instead, he went full hostage video. My preferred pronouns are he, him, his. Just in case you had any doubt that neoliberal interest groups control Spencer Cox's brain. Now you know for certain. Because it's never about gender. It's always about obedience. Spencer Cox is obedient, if nothing else, but not obedient to his voters. That's the weird thing. What exactly is the market for superfluous pronouns in Utah? Pretty limited, you would think. Most people in Utah don't need to be told. Yet somehow Spencer Cox is their governor. In a piece today, a really good piece, Nate Hochman of National Review reports that the very first document Cox signed as governor of Utah was something called the Utah Compact on Racial Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. And it's everything you'd imagine and more. The document describes racism as, quote, more than just an individual character flaw. No, racism instead is a system that you participate in, Mr. and Mrs. Racist, a system that can only be stopped with, quote, bold anti-racist actions and policies right now. Ooh, you know you're in trouble, Mr. and Mrs. Utah voter. What are these policies? We'll let Spencer Cox explain. Here is Spencer Cox wearing his little obedience mask during a Zoom interview, explaining that he supports excluding white students from an academic scholarship program purely because of their skin color, because that's anti-racism. No, it's not racism. It's anti-racism.
The Utah Jazz is excluding white children from consideration for their scholarship program. Do you think this is racist? And what will you do to prevent the Utah Jazz from acting in this racist manner?
Well, I don't think it's racist. In fact, I think it's in response to, unfortunately, some very difficult and racist injustices that have happened in our community for a long time.
So here's this moist little guy sitting alone in his gilded room with a mask on telling us it's not racist to exclude people from a scholarship based on their race. Does anyone else in Utah believe this? We'd like to meet them. There can't be many of them. Most people in Utah have more sense than that. Racism is when you hurt people based on their skin color, right? Right. And most people in Utah, by the way, still believe in biology, also gravity and photosynthesis. The state of Utah is pro-science. And we know this because Utah State Legislature just passed a bill banning men from competing in women's sports because men, it turns out, are not women. But Spencer Cox disagrees. He vetoed that bill.
Okay, so you've got the governor using his pronouns. You've got the governor pushing transgender, propaganda. You've got Times Magazine talking about about Cox as America's governor who's not afraid to be woke. I'm going to ask you a question. Think about this, and to our listeners. Where's the other side pushing back? It's definitely not happening. Where are the kids hearing the voice of sanity? They're not hearing it at school. They're not hearing it from the government. They're not hearing it in the media. I'm going to tell you something else. I'll tell you another place. They're not hearing it. When is the last time, and I want you to think about this to our listeners, when's the last time you heard someone in church stand up and say, this stuff's wrong? There are only two genders. So again, when's the last time you have church say that the homosexuality, that transgenderism is even wrong?
There's a reason that one of Spencer Cox's biggest donors is the National Education Association.
Do you want to expand on that real briefly, what that is?
What do you mean? The
that organization?
Well, they're in charge of our schools nationally. The the policies and the curriculum that come down from the federal level that we mandate that our teachers teach. And Cox, they're one of Cox's biggest donors for a reason. This is a governor that signed the Utah Compact on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion 3 years before he decided that it was something that DEI is evil, and he's going to campaign against it.
So that's my big concern. Did you?
Well, I was going to say, I was at the legislative hearing where Utah actually voted not to allow DEI in the schools. And it was crazy because what happened was we had comments, on both sides, for and against. All of the side that wanted the DEI to remain in the schools, as soon as that law passed, were totally calm, totally fine. And I'm watching them like, you just gave a really passionate comment why you believe in DEI, and you don't even care that it just got outlawed. It can't be there. Because they know it's there.
Yeah.
They've rebranded.
Yeah.
They've changed the names. Now in Alpine School District, it's called sustainability. So they kept the same people in those as employees and changed the name of their position. It's all throughout everything in the schools. The tentacles are everywhere. So that's why nobody cared. You could see it in the session. They just sat there like, all right, let's head out. We already know it's there.
Well, so, we have this leadership problem. These kids are growing up and knowing that from the governor to the media, to the local media, to Hollywood, to the schools is all endorsing this wokeism. And, we live in a time where everyone's concerned about men, like what's happened to men. And it is the rise of the beta male. And I think Cox is like the perfect example of that beta male, right? I mean, he is,
Oh my gosh, that guy.
And what is the role of men? Is it not to protect their wives, their children, defend their faith and their liberties? And, and that's why I was so pumped about, Kendalyn's dad standing up and encouraging her to stand up. And I would say it's time for men to do one step further, which is to be men. It should be men standing up. It should be men defending their kids. It should be men in the streets right now protecting, their girls from being invaded by men in their bathroom, and having men competing and beating them up in sports. Men should be standing up and saying, this is what's happening with this invasion in Utah turning into a sanctuary state. And the little 11-year-old girl that got raped recently by an illegal that the Utah media remained silent on, or only said it was a Lehigh guy that did it, wouldn't address he's illegal.
Right.
So men, I think 2024 is going to be a time where I think we see men start standing up. And I'm going to encourage you guys that when that happens, when we have 1,000 and 10,000 men in the streets, you're going to see Cox, you're going to see this state change in a hurry. So anyways, thank you guys all for joining. Yeah,
Kendalyn's dad, he's a Chad King.
He is.
Look at how strong of a daughter he's raised.
Well, we need, and when we're in the streets, I'm sure he'll be right there leading the charge. So God bless him. And it's a great time to be alive. And this is a time when the Constitution hangs by a thread. And this is the time when it's time. Reagan says there's a line that we must draw, which we cannot allow them to push beyond. Where are those boundaries? At what point is enough enough? And I think that 2024, we're going to see men draw that line and say, this is enough. And we will see men stand up. So thank you guys for watching and for sharing and for supporting what we're doing in all these independent journalists, and for becoming. We're going to encourage you, get in the streets, go record this stuff, because this is your country. This is your state. It's not the politicians. They work for us, and it's time to remind them how this country is supposed to work. So God bless you guys. God bless America. And God bless Utah. We need it.